Okay, so this is brotherra.com, unsurpassable justice, real black talk. Yeah, I have quite a few names for this particular program. But today is May 15th, 2021, Armed Forces Day. And I got the opportunity to dance with Master Heath Robinson of the Roxbury Tai Chi Academy. 11:30 this morning. That's what time I got there. Oh boy, I should have got there at 11. But I danced last night myself, dealing with my own spiritual issues, knowing that I was going to talk to my neighbors at a 3 o'clock meeting this afternoon, dealing with putting this at the end of my street. Already at the end of my street is Walden Square. And so this particular building would be right across the street or right very near. Now, Walden Square is a 9-story building, and this is the proposed 7-story building. And, I introduced myself to my neighbors because, and I said something esoteric like, I'm a reverend and I'm a reverend to the end. And trying to talk about, just allude to, I don't even know if the audience got it, but dealing with the abstract or becoming one with the verse. I can explain that to you here, but in that kind of audience where I think maybe 3 black people were, and I was wearing this outfit here, and, I made reference to being Reverend Richard Arthur and brotherra.com and do this type of programming. And my comment was just to introduce myself to them as they were discussing 3 city councilors, 2 were there, 1 was on Zoom, and they were discussing affordable housing, and some of them were very pleased that Cambridge is getting more units because there are about 5,000 people on the waiting list to get, how they word it? Reasonable housing. Not necessarily low income, but economical housing. And I, as a landlord and a homeowner, I made reference to this at 34 Hubbard Ave, and I do believe one of the counselors was discussing that rents shouldn't be over $2,300. And I made reference, well, I'm a landlord and my rent's not over $2,200. But economical and reasonable housing, I really am opposed to stacking. And just for my audience here, I couldn't say this out in public, but not as Reverend Richard, Brother R.A. I'm already controversial dealing with esoteric stuff. But I think I tore that. In my message, not only did I introduce myself, but I said something about, well, maybe we should consider a different means of exchange and stop using dead slaveholders, since this was one of the one of the original colonies, New England. And, I don't believe we need to continue this particular value structure. A reverend to the end is to revere, or that's my job, is to help an individual become an undivided individual. I do believe I made reference to that too in my little... I can't wait till they send me the Zoom. So I'll show you. They had me on Zoom. I'm like, yeah, please send that to me. I want to know what the hell I actually said. But I think it was very watered down and appropriate for that particular audience. But as a reverend to the end, raising an individual's self-esteem so that they don't feel they have to work for a dead slaveholder. My friend, I don't work for no dead slaveholder. Oh. Yeah, you do work for dead slaveholders. If you're earning money, you're working for a dead slaveholder. And as far as I'm concerned, a dead slaveholder has no integrity. And neither did those individuals that pillaged Africa and claimed they owned a nigger. Now, my job as a reverend to the end is to help everyone understand that we're all niggers, black and white. And if you remain ignorant or stuck on stupid and continue to work for a dead slaveholder who has no integrity, who claims they can own an individual, can I own you? No, I can only share knowledge and information. And quote unquote, the city councilors were there, and I didn't make reference to that point, that this is the intellectual Mecca of the world. If this is the intellectual Mecca of the world, the onus is on them to prove that we are intellectually astute, and maybe we should think about using a different means of exchange. Should that be my job, or should I just provoke the thought? I did say that. I do remember saying, you watch, Brother R.A., I will provoke you. So I'm provoking thought. And especially if this is the intellectual Mecca of the world, and I'm melanin dominant, and it's now 8 minutes in, and I think in one of my past shows, dealing with that number 8 in Novartis and Cambridge brand Tootsie Roll over there near the Royal East. Wait a minute. Chocolate in most melanin dominant people are lactose intolerant and can't consume dairy, and the only way it comes out of your digestive system is in your snot. So the intellectual Mecca of the world, dealing with DNA and genetics and Novartis, and actually where they're wishing to put this particular building is, this says Walden. I do believe on this side over here, there's a former, or it could still be there, biotechnical company. And how important is my biogenetics, being Melanin Man? Melanin is biological living light. You understand? Biological living light. And dealing with COVID-19, if my melanin recessive inbred mutant albino with a calcified pineal gland children have created an aerosol disease, it would have killed more people. The folks that are dying, if you own the media, one sister was telling me about, well, this millionaire talks to that millionaire. Well, that's what has already happened. These billionaires, those that trade dead slaveholders, have created the value structure, created the health, created the media, created the education, created the level of doubt and fear, and not actually activating your divine energies within you by being still. That's why I started talking about Master Heej, and with him being 20 years older than me and sharing meditation and movement, is that a conveyance of energy or sharing, as long as your intent is appropriate? And if your intent is to reach the absolute abstract, that is my calling as the Reverend to the end, is to get everybody to the absolute abstract. Yeah, I had to throw that as an adjective to describe the type of absolute. Absolute is already a noun, but the absolute abstract out there, can you be one with the universe at 11 minutes in? Can you see your duality? And that's what's wrong with the calcified pineal gland value structure, is it's a dry eye. And the liquid moisture in my first eye is allowing me to balance the energies in it, understand who I am as Father in nature, Melanin Man, biological living light. And my biological living light is a threat to the albino, calcified. And so that's why there are all these biogenetic engineering firms. And, well, they don't really have to know we didn't create a COVID-19, but we'll tell them that because we're billionaires. And then what? You buy all this hand sanitizer, and how much money is being spent on nonsense now? What happened to the level of integrity and intent of the mindset of the masses? Or are we just dumbed all the way down to stupid, ignorant, dumb motherfuckers? I couldn't say anything like that in front of all them white people. Not Reverend Richard W. Oliver Jr., a spiritual-ologist. But this is my sentiment as Melanin Man. And one of the other things that I wish to make reference to, this happened right down the street from William Lewis's house. An 1800, he was in the 1850s, owned a house in this neighborhood right up the street from where they plan on putting this building. And so what about the diminished value? There's the three men that started the Niagara movement. It was William Lewis, W.E.B. Du Bois, and those are two landmarkers here in Cambridge. I wish I did make that comment complimenting the city of Cambridge for having the three markers, but there happens to be an electrical power plant at the third man's house, and I'm like, is that what we are, just batteries in this economy? I have my biological living light solar panel as my flesh, the top layer of my skin, making me Melanin Man, and I do feel I'm a threat to the albino. If I copulate with an albino, of course I'm going to have a Tiger Woods or a Holly Berry. Now, is that why the DNA is so prevalent in the intellectual mecca of Harvard and MIT in this particular mindset, value structure? Okay, I gotta go. That's my 15 minutes. Bye.